Good morning, everybody. It's your girl Miracle Sims, and you're listening to God, Sex, and Love. Your daily dose of inspiration and juice. It is October the 17th, 2022, and today the topic is judgment. Judgment. Happy Monday, everyone. Happy Monday. I hope that you all had a great weekend. Mine was just fine overall. Um, Yeah, I don't know if I want to get too much into it, but y'all know that I had a birthday party that I went to perform at. Again, you may have seen some photos and whatnot on my social media. Um, you know, without saying too much, I just say, I had to kind of shake the dust off of Madame Miraculous, So shout out to Big Thinkers, the company that I was performing under on Saturday. Shout out to them giving me the opportunity to perform with them once again. Those of you all that know me, that company is the reason why I created Madame Miraculous, because it was a character that I had to create for the shows that I was doing for them way back before marriage, before becoming a mom. Like, it had to have been back in between, I guess, 2013 is when I started working there. And yeah, so God be the glory for, opportunities and I guess keeping good connections with people and things like that, because that's what got me that gig, I would say, over the weekend. And it was a unique situation, but I'm still grateful for it. And yeah, I guess I'll leave it at that. um, as for Sunday, I did go ahead and go to church. I went to Mountain West and received a good word. And yeah, and then yesterday we went to go pick up our little guy from my mom's house and everything, and they had dinner and a cake for him. So it's like he had another birthday. And yeah, I even got a chance to see some of the family and friends and people in my hometown, that was getting together for the loss of my cousin and his wife and everything like that. There's a lot to say, but then there's a lot to, I guess, not say. I don't know. We're gonna see what the Lord do. I'm just going to, I guess, let's get into this topic, right? Okay, let's get into the topic. So, long story short, this morning, well, first I woke up around 1 something, and then I went back to sleep, and then the Lord woke me up after, it was after 5 by the time I woke up again. And yeah, so I went ahead and got on up and I, did my prayer meditation, everything like that. I don't really even remember what it was about in this moment now. But afterwards, I started to look up verses centered around discernment. And, I thought I was getting, thought it was resonating. I was getting ready to write down the definition and everything of discernment and all these different things. But as soon as I started to write down the topic name, I started writing down the word judgment. And when I meant to write discernment, so I was like, okay. But instead of scratching it out, I just started looking up verses centered around judgment, and here we are. Here we are. Now I guess if I have a confessional moment, I think I've been trying at least to be very careful about what I say, right? About people and situations and stuff, especially when I don't really know much about it. And that's one thing I would say about yesterday that kind of stood out to me, because I went to this gathering. We only went briefly. And it was kind of like a cookout situation. It was outdoors and whatnot, and it was a lot of people in my hometown. And I recognized a few faces from the family, and and things like that. And so I spoke to those people and everything. But at some point, I kind of found myself just sitting and observing, which is not really that abnormal for me. I feel like I'm more of an observer than anything, depending on the situation. Um, I mean, okay, just to tell you all a little bit more about me and my personality, I guess, is that, for example, if I'm in a room and everybody's quiet, then I would probably be that one to spark the conversation. And then once the conversation is sparked, I would just observe. I go back into the observation position, right? Um, but if I'm in a larger situation, that, for example, that is outside of my performance side of myself, then I'm more so sitting and observing than anything, if that makes any sense. Um, so on one hand, I could be the life of the party, but on the other hand, I'm like, not say the flower on the wall, but let's just say like that wallflower. So uh yeah, so as I was sitting there yesterday and observing people and just kind of thinking about the situation and how in a lot of ways I felt very out of place. Um, which is interesting because then I'm in my hometown. I'm in the town that I grew up in. I'm surrounded by people that I'm, for the most part, may have grown up around or with or something like that. But at the same time, I felt so. Uh, the word that just came into my mind was different, but it's like it's not that I feel different or better or nothing like that. Just felt, I guess it's better to say, out of place. And so I don't know if it's that I'm just out of touch. I know when I was reflecting on it this morning, I was like, I think the thing about me and my life is that I feel like with all due respect to everybody in my life, but I feel like personally for me that, let's say, this might sound weird to people, so my apologies for that if it does. But the way I can sum it up is that I feel like I had to fight to be who I am today. If that makes any sense to anybody. I don't know if that's going to make any sense to anybody. But my mind was always, like, for example, when I was in my hometown, obviously I was younger, X, Y, and Z. Yeah, I would say that I was kind of sheltered to a certain extent, you know, because again, when it was just me and my mom, it was just me and my mom. And then, you know, when she got married and my sister was born and everything like that, then, you know, obviously the family expanded and we went more places, and there was more like family get-togethers and things like that, but it still was rather sheltered. Like I didn't really get out like that. Like my mom really didn't like have us going here and there and everywhere, you know what I'm saying? And so there's people that I might be familiar with, right? But I more so saw people at school or something like that. And so, but I've usually in school was only like with my certain group of friends, you know? Um, so it wasn't like I built these relationships with all these different people. It's like somebody, of people, but then you don't really know them like that. Like, you know what I mean? Or their families or whatever. Like we just didn't really, or at least me, I just say me. I guess I didn't really like, it was never like mixing and mingling with a lot of people. I don't know how else to say that, y'all. But anyway, so for me, there's just things that and I don't know, again, in that time of my life, I just was always focused on the next step, the next step, the next step, the next step. Because it's like I saw myself probably in the position I am now, right? I saw myself, I guess, working in different goals, dreams, aspirations, marry, all these different things, right? Um and I guess I knew I couldn't stay where I was at to be there, right? So in middle school, I was thinking about high school. In high school, I was thinking about college. In college, I was thinking about the next step, and so yeah, so in a lot of ways, it's like I guess my mind was always on that. And who knows, maybe that could be selfish in some ways, to only kind of quote unquote think of yourself and think of like getting to a place where getting to the place where you want to be. Maybe that is selfish in some ways, but at that same time, it's like with the things that I feel like the Lord has me doing, right, and the people that I've met and the things that, you know, I guess my quote unquote circle of influence, right, you know, there would be no way to be doing things like this if not for, right, that time of pursuing to become who I saw myself as. If that makes any sense. So I guess with that being said, it's not like, so when it comes to these different situations, right, even being there yesterday, and even when thinking about, or when I received the news about my cousin and all these different things, you know, it just was like, you know, I try my best to be careful about like saying anything about them in particular, because at the end of the day, I have to be honest and say that, like I said the other day, I don't think I fully knew them enough to say yay or nay or cast righteous judgment, right? And so therefore, I try my best to cast no judgment, you know, and focus on whatever the Lord wanted me to say that day. And so now maybe there might have been thoughts or something in my heart, I'll be honest about that. But my whole thing was like trying my best not to verbalize that type of stuff. Because again, I don't know, you know, I only know off of observations, right? And that's the thing I think about life and dealing with people and things like that. The interesting thing is when I wrote down the definition of judgment this morning, and I guess by the time I wrote down the first two definitions, I was like, this is probably why people have such an issue with judgment. But anyway, I'm going to go ahead and read it. So the definition of judgment says the ability to make considered decisions or come to sensible conclusions. Now, to me, they don't sound that bad, right? But of course, people always, oh, you judging me. You know, they got all these things to say about judgment. And my whole thing is like, yeah, and they want to quote like one piece of the Bible, judge not lest you not be, you know, yeah. But it's like, but you don't read the rest of that. Then it's like, again, there is a thing as righteous judgment. So I don't think, you know, God is saying what the Bible is saying. Now, this is just me, right? Making an observation of the situation. I don't think God is telling us, oh, don't judge, but it's telling us, hey, you know, depending on what it is, right? If you know that you are in sin, whatever type of whatever, and you're trying to point out somebody else's sin, you know, the Bible is telling us to, hey, clear up your own sin, right? And then you might be able to like kind of assist somebody with clearing up their sins, you know. But don't be out here sinning and then you pointing at the pointing fingers at somebody else, and try to call them out about sinning, you know. You know, that's what I receive when I read the Bible about judgment, right? But then this second definition says this. It says a misfortune or calamity viewed as a divine punishment. So I think maybe, right, this might be the part of judgment that people got an issue with. And maybe this is the one that people feel like that other people may be overstepping their boundary, right? Because if you look at this definition, it says divine judgment. Am I correct here? Let me see. Let me go back. Yeah, or divine punishment. A misfortune or calamity viewed as a divine punishment. Now, what is divine? We know that divine is heavenly, God figure, you know. Now, they didn't say that. They said divine instead. But it's still interesting to me, like, how even in worldly things that God is still incorporated in, even though on some aspect they try to leave God out, but then it's like, but you can't. But anyway, that's something else. But Yeah, a misfortune or calamity viewed as divine punishment. At the end of the day, like, we can't provide the punishment. Like, here goes an example. So yesterday when I was picking up, we was there getting NJ and everything like that, and my niece was like, Auntie Miracle, NJ got a shoe. And I guess she was trying to say that he was trying to spank her. And I'm like, son, you are not anybody's parent to be trying to spank nobody. You know what I mean? Like, and it's funny, right, when it comes to kids, but who don't we try to do that same thing? It's like we try to cast the punishment or the calamity, the misfortune. Like, we trying to punish the people for whatever it is, but we're not in the position to punish nobody. At the end of the day, we are not in a position to punish nobody. It says divine punishment. Okay. So therefore, right, that's where some of this probably comes in. But see, now I think Marcus Rogers kind of got it right on this one when he says it's not judgment to say what the judge meant. So just because I say, right, what the Bible say don't mean I'm judging or punishing you. I can't punish you, you know what I mean, for whatever it is. I mean, again, like Mr. Frank Turek says, I can't, I didn't make up these laws, right? So yeah, it's just all in the way we view stuff, I think. Like, for whatever reason, people view the first part of the definition. They view the ability, if one person has the ability, right, to make considered decisions or come to sensible conclusions about whatever the situation is, you're viewing it as a punishment of some sort. It's like they're mixing these two definitions. People are mixing these two definitions. That's what it seemed like. And we got to be careful, right, on both ends, right? If you are that type of person that's out there doing that type of thing where you're making a considered decision about somebody, but in a way of punishing that person, then you're overstepping your boundaries. That's God's position to punish. That's for God to do. Now, does that mean I can't make a considered decision once I get information on what use my discernment and all these different things? No, that doesn't mean that. And so I think there's balance. There's balance with all of this stuff in life and whatnot. But let's see what the Bible has to say. Let's see what the Bible has to say about all of this. So this verse stood out to me this morning. It's James 2:13. It says, "For judgment is without mercy to one who has shown no mercy. Mercy triumphs over judgment." I think that's the main position where we're supposed to be as humans. Mercy. Grace and mercy. Again, I feel like I say this all the time, but here it is again. We always appreciate that for us, for ourselves, for us. Thank you. Yes, I would like all the grace and mercy for me and my sins and the way, I fall short and all those different things, my flaws. I need grace and mercy for those things. But then for whatever reason, it's like we don't want to give that back to other people, when we're supposed to. We're not in the position, again, I guess this is the thing I'm reiterating today about it. And I didn't even think about this, so this got to be Lord, because but anyway, like, as I was writing these verses down, this was not even I just wrote the verses down. I guess what I'm receiving today is it's not our position to do the punishment. Don't take on the second definition of the word judgment. That ain't for us. For us, we need to, I guess, more so focus on what this first verse here that I read is saying, and showing mercy, right? Grace and mercy. It says here that mercy triumphs over judgment. So yeah, let's keep that in our hearts and minds this morning, because let's keep going. It'll show us why. So 2 Corinthians 5:10 says, "For we must all appear before the judgment seat of Christ, so that each one may receive what is due for what he has done in the body, whether good or evil. I think what stands out to me the most as I wrote that down and read this morning is that it says we all must appear before the judgment seat of Christ. That's why we ain't got time to be out here trying to take God's position and punish people. Like, I can't punish nobody. I know they say this, but here we go. I don't have a heaven nor hell to put nobody in. Like that's not my position, so we can't be out here, casting that type of judgment. We can't be out here, condemning people. At the end of the day, again, if you got another day, another breath in your body, you have a chance to avoid the final judgment or whatever aspect you might be going to, right? Like, now it's not judgment to say with the judgment. I'm with that, it's not it's not punishment to have good or to make considered decisions and come to sensible conclusions. Two different things, again, two different definitions. Now it's the same word, so maybe that's why I get so mixed up. But I don't know. It's just, it's making a little bit of sense to me today. Making a little bit of sense. So I'm just trying to share what is coming to me in this moment. But yeah, like let's just keep going. Let's just keep going. So then let's see. Romans 14:12-13. It says, so then each of us will give an account of himself to God. Therefore, let us not pass judgment on one another any longer, but rather decide never to put a stumbling block or hindrance in the way of a brother. Amen. Amen. To me, those two verses connected. Like, you can read those right after each other, in my opinion. I guess you can do that on your own, if you want to take out the time and do that, because it sounds good going together. But yeah, again, let's stay in our position, y'all, and let's choose to not put a stumbling block in our brother's way. It's one thing, right, if you, for example, are an accountability partner, you're somebody that's in the position to assist someone and provide some feedback, some criticism, whatever the case is, to help somebody grow. That's something different. But to be out here, again, condemning people and casting them in hell when that's not your place, right? That's not your position. At the end of the day, that's God. That's between them and God. And I don't know. I feel like it just always comes back to, like, who are you to that person? Again, are you a mentor? Are you an accountability partner? Are you a parent or something along those lines, to be able to, speak into somebody's life and warn them, right, of the consequences? Then, yeah, perhaps you might be able to, again, use discernment on how to share that information with that person. However, but if you're just some random, like they say, person in the street or Joe Blow, or whatever the case is, condemning people, I don't know if that's our place. That's just, I don't know. Again, what I'm receiving today, I don't know. It's just really, I think, really a healthy balance of this. But anyway, I've got another verse for y'all. It's Matthew 12:36. It says, I tell you, on the day of judgment, people will give account for every careless word they speak. Whew. Ain't gonna lie, y'all. This morning I was like praying. I'm like, well, Lord, now that this has come to my heart and mind, I repent of whatever was on my heart and mind. And if I said anything, just trying to just come to you and let you know that I received these words today. I don't want to overstep my boundaries, right, when it comes to this either, because again, I can't cast the judgment on nobody, really, and whatnot. That's not my place to do that type of judgment. Now, can I make, as I get information and whatever, discernment, all these other things, but it's not for everything isn't for to say, though, for us to say. I think we should be careful about what we say. That's what I'm receiving in that verse, at least. And yeah, just something to think about. I got one more verse, y'all, and it is John 7:24. It says, "Do not judge by appearances, but judge with right judgment." Again, like I said, if I just think about this weekend, the past few days, or things that's on my mind, right? When I first got the news about my cousin and his wife, I didn't know anything about the situation. I just know that there was an accident, X, Y, and Z. Now, I could probably draw all kinds of conclusions based on that, right? Based on the little bit that I know, maybe I could have, maybe they were doing this, they were doing that. Like, why were they out? Like, asking all these different questions, And at the end of the day, but I don't know, I think I more so was affected also by, knowing that me and my husband was just out, right? And we had went out to dinner that night, and it's was driving in a car and stuff, and so, and then thinking about again the kids and whatnot, like losing both parents on the same night is crazy circumstance. I can't even imagine what everybody is truly feeling. I know I had a chance to hug his mom and dad and kind of speak with them briefly and whatnot, and it's like they're trying to, obviously be hold up and be in good spirits or whatever, trying to find some way to cope through the situation and stuff. But yeah, I probably can't truly understand how everybody feels as individuals and whatnot. I can probably kind of make a, observation, right? But I can't like obviously feel exactly what they are feeling. Those that was close to these individuals, and yeah, that's the thing, and obviously while I was there yesterday, I was able to hear a little bit more about what may have happened from those that, are getting more information than me, and maybe where they are in their life, and, what they were doing and all these different type of things, where it's like, we don't know like why God allowed that to go ahead and happen at that time the way it did. you know But regardless, y'all, that's just something to think about. At the end of the day, like, we can't just go off of appearances, right? Judge with right judgment. Obviously, God has all the wisdom, so go to him. We can seek wisdom from him regarding different situations. Obviously, yeah, we can make observations as well, but, get an understanding, right? Maybe ask questions, maybe, again, seek wisdom and get wisdom before we make these, judgmental statements. And even so, be careful, right? Like, 'cause according to this, I don't know, maybe it's just more wise to just not even go there. We don't have to speak everything we think. You know, we don't have to verbalize those things. Because again, we can leave the ultimate, as we say here, the punishment and things like that. We can leave that to God. And that's the juice. That is the juice today. The Bible verse of today is Proverbs 1:7. It says, "The fear of the Lord is the beginning of knowledge, but fools despise wisdom and instructions." Friend, I hope y'all enjoyed this juice this morning. Thank you so much for listening to God, Sex, and Love, your daily dose of inspiration, the juice. I pray you guys can go forth and have a wonderful day, and I look forward to talking to you all tomorrow, if the Lord's will. Bye-bye. And there you go, Facebook, YouTube, Rumble, anybody listening to the sound of my voice. I hope that you all are encouraged and inspired. Thank you so much for listening and watching on today. I hope these things, yes, like I said, encourage and inspire you. Let us be careful about everything that we say and do. Like I said, even I was like, Lord, well, I repent. You know what I'm saying? I pray that, you lead me and guide me on discernment and all these different things, because, I just want to really be careful. Like this Bible verse of today was saying, the fear of the Lord is the beginning of knowledge. And so, out of respect to the Lord, I want to make sure that I'm, not going too far, right, with what I say, because I'm gonna have to give an account for all these words that I'm saying and everything. And so, yeah, it's just just very interesting to kind of like, make observations about life and but more so focus on you, right? Like again, I'm finding balance with that because on one hand, like I was telling you all earlier, like fighting to get where I am and to be who I am and do what I'm doing and all these different things. I don't know if that was the wrong thing to do, because it does make me feel like they say out of touch, out of whack, like I guess in the world, but not of the world, and all of that. But on the flip side, like, I thank God for where I am. I thank God for what He's done in my life. And again, I know I wouldn't be here sharing, nor, in the situation I'm in and all these different things if not for God, I guess putting whatever it is in me to go for the vision, right? Because I guess I see where I'm at, right, and see what God is doing with the vision, and it's a blessing. It truly is a blessing. Every day is a blessing, and I thank God for it. Yep, keep the family in prayer and everything like that, and I look forward to talking to y'all tomorrow if the Lord's will. Bye bye.